Hello, and welcome to Team 5's presentation on the process design of Phillips Brewing and Malting Co. for their production of craft beer. Presenting for you are Tian Feng, Grady Stewart, Asnk Assefa, Payne, and Jade Lowe. During the presentation, we will be covering the following: Phillips Brewing Overview, Sales and Distribution, Inputs and Outputs, Phillips Beer Brewing Process, Operations Strategy, Supply Chain Control, and lastly, Enterprise Resource Planning.
Phillips opened its doors in 2001 and has been growing rapidly ever since, where as of 2014 it started malting in-house, making it Canada's only microbrewery to do so. The decision to go from barley to beer is also what makes their production process unique in comparison to other microbrewers. Malting in-house also gives Phillips a better control of raw ingredients, support local farmers, and also benefit from provincial tax break for sourcing raw ingredients locally. Although Phillips is referred to as the biggest microbrewer in Canada, it still produces the 13 full-time and 7 seasonal recipes, all in small batches. The brewer operates with 53 employees as of 2014 to produce an assortment of beverages, including the core product, the beer. The company's structure is comprised of a hands-on owner and a department consisting of brewing and bottling, sales, delivery, retail, administration, and technicians. The brewery was started in the owner's apartment where he lived and worked in the same space until he was able to acquire the necessary funds to open the current location at 2010 Government Street, Victoria, BC, where they have been since 2001. Bottling is carried out at their brewing and malting location that also serves as a head office and retail space. Furthermore, by acquiring the building next to the brewery in the summer of 2016, it was able to expand the retail space and tasting bar for customers to purchase and sample Phillips products. Phillips customers can get their product one of three ways. A customer can go into the brewery retail space to sample and purchase a bottled beer, as well as refill a growler, a 64-ounce reusable bottle, make a purchase from any one of the hundreds of BC liquor stores across British Columbia and the rest of Canada. Lastly, a keg can be ordered online through the company website and picked up at the brewery retail space. The brewery also hosts several events such as comedy nights, concerts like Phillips Backyard, and sponsorships of small events where it sells and promotes Phillips beers exclusively.
Now let's talk about the inputs and outputs. Phillips, as mentioned, goes from barley to beer. Phillips has partnered with Refuse to minimize outputs and really show that Vancouver Island sustainability culture. They have an in-house recycling and composting program. They take their CO2 from the fermentation process and use it in the bottling process as opposed to purchasing this as an input from places that use fossil fuels. This won them an award in 2015. They also are a part of a bottle reuse program. Most bottles are used an average of 13 times. And they use recycled paper for their labels. Like any brewing process, they have an output of steam, which at Phillips is used to heat the next batch, preventing this energy from being wasted. They even use the heat output from their refrigerators to heat their office. Talk about controlling their inputs and outputs. Phillips takes this unique would-be inputs and outputs and mixes them with standard inputs such as malt that they make from their own barley, as well as water, energy, yeast, hops, and air. They take all these inputs and transform them into the outputs of barley that isn't used, is sent back to farmers for their animal feed, as well as the waste of mash and hops are also either composted or sent to farmers for animal feed. This leaves us with the most precious of all outputs. Of course, this is their bottled beer.
The conversion of Phillips inputs into outputs is a long and staggering process. The first step in the production of beer is called malting, during which barley, an input, is poured into massive steel vats and soaked in water to allow it to germinate. Once this has occurred, the barley is then dried. This leads to the second step called milling, during which the dried barley is ground into a flour-like substance. During mashing, the powdered barley is combined with hot water, an input, which is now called mash. This mixture is then placed in a lautering tun in which the mash, now an output, is then separated from a clear liquid called wort, which will be the base of the beer production moving forward. Hops, an input, is added to the wort and is brought to a boil. The amount of hops varies depending on the desired flavor. Next, yeast, an input, is added during the fermentation process. There are two types of yeast used, either ale or lager. During the fermentation process, carbon dioxide, or CO2, is produced, which adds the carbonation to the beer. Ales ferment for approximately 1 week and lagers for approximately 2. This is then followed by the aging process, where ales age at least another week and lagers age for at least another 2. After the aging is complete, the liquid is then filtered to remove any excess debris. At this point, the beer is ready to be bottled, packaged, sold, and drank. However, should liquid need to be stored for a later date, it can be placed in a storage tank, after which it will need to be filtered a second time prior to being bottled for sale.
Phillips Brewing places a significant focus on quality. As previously mentioned, they are the only craft brewing company in Canada to malt their own barley. This allows for the company to have greater control over the quality of product, individual brewer creativity, and also their overall environmental impact. Including this process helps Phillips in their product development and also in meeting and exceeding customer expectations. It also provides some necessary aspects to the company to set it apart from their competition. Policies put in place ensure that high-quality ingredients are being used to create a high-quality product. This aids in developing the brewery's overall long-term sustainable advantage. Being aware of their competition and effectively executing action plans helps to keep the craft brewing company successful.
Phillips Brewing can control their product quality, develop beer recipes, and reduce transportation expenditures and emissions, because they have a big control over their supply chain. Their operations cover from suppliers to distributor, even part of retailers. For suppliers, this company owns barley by cooperating with the local farmers. And for the storage, they own 6 silos and safely store skills. And for the manufacturing, they have mature malting technology, technical personnel, and equipment. Phillips can also control distributions and retails because they have mature online ordering and delivery system. The advantages of having big controlling on supply chain for Phillips are not only enhancing company's competitiveness in market, but also to build consumer loyalty. Healthy beer for people, environmental friendly manufacturing method, and Canada locally produced beer could become the strong advertisement which can attract and keep consumers. Regarding Phillips' operation planning, this company uses enterprise resource planning to manage and coordinate all the resource information and functions of an organization from a shared database. Operating ERP system and melting process requires company to use well-trained and technical employees. Thus, Phillips might need to spend recruiting and training expenditures. However, this system will help them to build a just-in-time inventory, which can help them to save inventory expenditures.
Overall, Phillips has made incredible progress across nearly 2 decades in both maintaining control over their supply chain, but also in further refining the production of the beer itself. By producing their own malt, Phillips is able to ensure quality in their product, as well as can make more sustainable production choices. Phillips utilizes their inputs and outputs to their fullest extent, with local farmers reaping the benefits. Ultimately, if past decisions made by Phillips Brewing are any indication of their future decision-making abilities, they will surely continue to be successful.